Yo. Now, what's up, guys? So, I just finished recording a video for our members. All those are like my previous video for the custom audience creation and 10x in the custom audiences. I appreciate that, and go out, dominate with it. This one has been about a year in the making. And what I'm going to be teaching is what I call the Trojan Horse Offers. Okay. This is essentially 7, or it's actually 6 because I combined 2 of them into one. So it's 6 offers that I put together that any agency can use alongside the technology we developed to just go out and dominate. Like when I say dominate, I mean they'll go out and they'll just run rings about anybody else. Okay. Now, the reason for this is because these are designed in such a way where it's low risk, high reward. It is something where it's impossible for companies to say no. Okay. So you go out and you take these and you apply these to cold email. You're going to see just a ton of appointments, ton of bookings coming through. Okay. The biggest reason why a lot of people struggle to grow their agency or struggle to grow their business when using cold traffic, whether it be Facebook ads, Google ads, cold email, like whatever, any kind of cold traffic, is because they do not know how to create a Trojan Horse offer. So this is 6 of the most lethal Trojan Horse offers that we use to build agencies. Check it out, leave a comment, and I'll keep posting more videos like this. Trojan Horse 1. Okay. So these Trojan horses are going from easiest to hardest. And the thing is, as it gets harder, the more you can charge, right? So I want you to think about how much work you actually want to put in. Like, I know this is, a lot of marketers and a lot of people in this industry want something that's just easy and you can white label, and you can still do that. But somebody else that knows how to white label something while also putting in their own IP, they're going to kick your ass. Okay. So just think about that. So number 1 is identity resolution. This is the one that a lot of people do. It's super easy to do. It's actually 16. And it's just such a no-brainer, right? So here's the idea: is there is literally billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars in wasted spend every single year. I think it's actually more than 16 billion. It's a lot more. When I was researching, I found that was just like for one platform. It's actually closer to, I think, across spend across Facebook, Google, and Amazon, it's something like $60 billion, right, that is spent on digital advertising every single year just in the US. Okay. Now, if you think that the average conversion rate on a website is 2.58%, so let's round it up 3%, that means like 97% of spend is just wasted, right? Now, a lot of people are like, oh, but the pixel can pick it up. You can retarget these people. Wrong. You can only retarget a small percentage of them because Facebook and Google doesn't pick up every single visitor, right? And I'll explain why in the later videos. Basically, we're talking about 75% of spend is just wasted. Like, can't be retargeted, can't be used, is just straight up burnt money. So we're talking about billions and billions and billions of dollars every single year. So this is where our pixel comes in to be the hero. As you know, what we do is you install our pixel on a website, grabs the MD5, bounces it back to our super graph, right? And I call it a super graph because we've built it with so many different sources and linkage data, focusing so hard on match rate. When we first started out with this, our match rate was like subpar. We were like getting like, 5 to 10%. And then we just kept building and building and building and building. And now we're fucking matching at like 70%, which is just unheard of in this industry. Go find me another provider that can match 70%. We've got a high match rate because we just focused on it for a really, really, really long. So what you do is you put a pixel on someone's website. Okay. Ideally, someone that has 10,000 hits per month, right? So let's say Bob has a website selling fishing rods and, he's got a 30% conversion rate. He's spending $1. Let's just say $1, probably like 30 cents. $1 per visitor. So he's spending like $10,000 a month. You're able to get him 3 to 5x more sales just by putting the identity resolution pixel on. What you do is you put the pixel on, you give him the leads, you pipe them to a CRM or whatever, right? It's very simple. Or you just give him a license. You don't even charge him per lead. You just say, hey, it's $5,000 for the license and you get this many extra. So what you're going to do with Trojan Horse 1 is you're going to find high volume websites. We're going to give you a list of high volume websites, websites that we know have a lot of traffic coming to them. And I'll show you how to find these websites and I'll also give you a list of these websites. Then what you're going to do is you're going to charge an upfront fee and you're going to say, okay, here it is for the pixel. And then either you're going to go performance based or you're just going to keep on charging the same monthly retainer in order to be able to capture the traffic that they're missing out. So here's how Mark did that. Shout out to Mark. Awesome job. All right. So that is Trojan Horse 1. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you resources on how to put this together when we get to the fulfillment section. But Trojan Horse 1 is simply identity resolution. It's putting the pixel on a website, resolving the identity. boom, bam, you're done. Okay, Trojan Horse 2. We're getting a little bit more complex. And as you get more complex, you can charge. Okay, so once you've identified identities from somebody's website, right? What do you do with it? Some people might just happy with the ID. So like, no, we have our own sales team. We've got all this. Like, just give us the leads, and right. And that's an ideal situation. But if you want to go that next level, Trojan Horse 2 is identity resolution retargeting. Okay, so how this works is we're going to resolve the identities, right? Via webhook, we're going to resolve the identities into a Google Sheet. Then what we're going to do is a reactivation sequence. Okay, so we're going to email these leads, and we're going to mail, or we have stuff in high level, and reactivating those leads for a client. And guess what? You're going to charge on top of the reactivation. Right? So you sell them on the Pixel. They're like, yeah, I'll have the Pixel for like $2,000 a month. Beauty. And you're like, do you want us to reactivate them? Yes, I do. Okay, cool. Charge an extra $2,000 a month. Now you're charging $4,000 a month, and you're giving them a kick-ass ROI. So that is Trojan Horse 2. Trojan Horse 3, right? Match rate optimization. A lot of people heard me talking about this at AdWorld 2022. Truth is, yes, we did coin the term. We were the ones who created the term match rate optimization. Right. And all it is basically the process of giving ad platforms more data. That's what it is. Right. And that's where our end goal is. It's about making ad platforms smarter, because Facebook and Google, okay, it's not that they're, I'm not saying that, hey, my graph that I built for 7 figures is better than these companies that have spent billions and billions of dollars. I can't say that. Like, if I say that, I'm just an idiot. You know what I mean? I can't say that my data scientist team is better than Google. No, I can't say that. What I can say is that Google, Facebook, Amazon, all these big platforms, they have what is called a walled garden strategy, okay? And what that means is they are designing an ecosystem that is like pay to play, and they have 100% control of. So it's not that these guys can't do what we can do. It's that it goes against their business model, giving users their own data to be able to use. Okay. They'll provide stats and analytics and ways that you can view the data, but you'll never be able to download it, and you'll never be able to take it to another platform. And this is a strategy to be able to keep you inside their ecosystem. It's how business works. It's smart. So it's not that these guys can't do what we're doing. Okay. I don't want anybody to think that, oh my gosh, these guys are saying they're better than Facebook and Google. It's that because it goes against their revenue model, right? So the way it works with paid ads is you'll notice that the more you spend, the more you actually pay for a CPA, unless you do some manipulation, a lot of testing and things like that. This is because the way that these ad platforms are designed is to, get you hooked in so that you're paying more, and then, you slowly start to pay more and more and more. That's how the algorithms work. Okay. If it didn't, everybody would just be pretty much robbing these guys because they get such cheap clicks. All right. So that's how these algorithms work. If you don't believe me, just type in the walled garden of Google and see what you get, right? But essentially what we want to do is we want to make these platforms as smart as possible by providing the linkage data that you're not able to see, okay? It might already be there, but they're not letting you have it, all right? So what we're going to do here is we're going to take the resolve leads that we have, and we're going to plug it into Facebook or Google or TikTok, and we're going to make the ad platforms smarter, okay? So there's a few tools we're going to need for this, and I'll get into the fulfillment section with this. We're going to need what's called a CDP. A CDP is just a CRM for your data, okay? It's not anything complex. It is just that, a CRM for your data. Customer Data Platform is what it stands for. And then we're going to need just our identity resolution pixel. And what we're going to do is I'll show you an example down here. We're going to plug in our pixel, and then we're going to feed the data back to Facebook, Google, or whatever. Because here's the thing, let's say you send 1,000 websites to a landing page. Facebook and Google and all these ad platforms, they'll only pixel a certain amount of people, right? Because of iOS and things like that. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to resolve the whole identity of somebody, and we're going to plug that back into the platform with our own means through a CDP, and we're going to reduce CPA by around 50% or so. Don't ever go to a client and just guarantee them CPA of reduction of 50% until you actually understand how much you're spending on traffic, right? Because you could be matching at 100%, and if a client's only spending like $100 a month, it's not going to make that much of a difference. Okay. So you can see here's an example. We did this, we put a CDP on, we reduced the CPA from about $41 to $14, right? And this was actually just done by using Customer Labs by itself, right? And I'll show you how to do that. And then when we add in our pixel, it just goes even more. So it's pretty exciting. So before you go exploring of match optimization, just get an understanding of like, okay, your client needs to have a good amount of spend to make this work. They need to be spending, I would say, a minimum of $5K per month on ads before you would approach this model, okay? So match optimization is making ad platforms smarter by passing the data back Facebook and whatever ad. Okay, Trojan Horse 4, blue ocean targeting. So here's the deal, right? If you go onto Facebook or you go onto Google or you go onto TikTok or whatever, they will give you set options how you can target these people, right? I don't know how many interests exactly Facebook gives you, a couple thousand. And then Google, obviously, you get their own kind of in-market audiences and things like that. The issue here is that, there's about 10 million advertisers on Facebook alone, 7 million also advertisers on Google, last time I checked. So, they're all using the same audience, right? That's why there's all this crossover. And that's why everybody has to focus so much on having, insane creatives, which I'm not saying don't focus on creatives, but I'm saying the reason why these companies are so focused on creatives is because they got to stand out, because everybody's targeting the exact same audiences. There's only so much inventory to go around, okay? And this is part of that walled garden strategy. This is why Facebook and Google and stuff are so successful, because they continually find ways to charge you more. All right. So how you counteract this, we're going to give you your own targeting options. So I'm going to head over to my whiteboard for a second and I'll show you exactly what. All right. So as you guys know, and you should know by now, the holy grail of tracking is what's called a hashed. Okay. So a hashed email is a hexadecimal. It is your email and it's basically hashed. All right. So it's like a code, right? It's anonymous data. So you've got your hashed email here. And what this does is every website you go to, your hashed email keeps all that data. Like it's tracked through the hashed email, right? That's the very, very basic. If you're a data scientist, watch this, don't slaughter me. I can get into the specifics later, but that is the very basic understanding of it. Now, what we can do is we have about 40 billion hashed emails that we track. Now, 40 billion hashed emails across 270 million users. I think it's like 2 to 3. I don't know my math exactly. It's a few emails per person. Yeah, around that. Right. So what we do is we're tracking all these emails per person, and we're tracking 1.9 trillion behaviors. Okay, what's a behavior? A behavior is when I go and I Google, I just got a new car, and let's say for an example, I'm looking at, new seats, and I'm like, best way to get new seats for Volkswagen, something like that, right? That is a behavior. A behavior is just something that indicates a sale or something before a sale. All right. So we're tracking 1.9 trillion behaviors. That is searches across Google and Bing, and it's all captured in this hash data. All right. In the hashed email. So what we're going to do is, let's say, for an example, you've got this big sample, right? So we got 1.9 trillion behaviors in here made up of all these keywords. Let's say you have a client and they are looking for something quite specific. They are looking for roofing, people that want, roofs, right? New roofs, right? And it's probably a general one, but let's say that. And, you got all these people that are using the same interests, and a lot of people using custom audiences and things like that. And you're like, how can I get the edge? What you want to do is you're going to have the ability to build what we call an in-market, right? Also known as an intent audience, also known as a custom audience. It is essentially going through and building your own audience out of your own 1.9 trillion behaviors that we track. So what you're going to do is you're going to go through and you're going to put in the keywords that would resemble the behavior of somebody that would want to purchase a new roof, right? So it might be a list of keywords and stuff like that. And you're going to take out your own little segment of these 1.9 trillion keywords, and you're going to build this audience, right? Now, here's the thing: is there's a scale. Okay, so you've got on one side here, this is going to be cheap cost. So let's call this big audience, which equals cheap cost, and here equals very specific. Okay, so you've got here the audience is really big. You need to have big audiences in order for Facebook and Google and so forth to really optimize correctly. If you could have the most targeted audience on the planet, and if you upload it to Facebook, it'll die out in like 2 days. Whereas if you have it too broad, it's going to take too long to optimize. So you need to find this perfect middle ground, like right in the middle here, where you've got a big, fat, juicy audience of 1 million plus, or 100,000 plus, that is highly targeted, that you can use to be able to drop costs right away. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to compile lists of keywords, and we actually do this inside the Ads Lab for you. Figure out what keywords you would want to focus on, right? So what keywords the competitors are bidding on and things like that, and pretty much steal the traffic of that based on the hashed emails and build an audience, right? And then you upload that to Facebook or whatever, and then you drop ad. Okay. Now it's that easy, but it's also not that easy. Don't do this if you don't have any idea about how Facebook and Google. Okay, don't think that there's a magic audience that you can just whack into whatever platform you want and it's going to drop costs. There's so many variables. Okay, there's certain ways to do this to really show a client the results. Like if you go to a client and you say, hey, I can drop your cost by 30%. Like, what does that actually mean? You know, is that on one audience? Is that on all the audiences? There's certain ways to set this. So essentially that is blue ocean targeting. Blue ocean targeting is using your own targeting, right? It's not using Facebook targeting. It's not using Google targeting. It is using your own source of 1.9 trillion behaviors, 70,000 pre-built audiences to create the exact audience you need that is both big enough for the ad platforms to work and specific enough for you to stand out. All right, so that is blue ocean retargeting. Okay, Trojan horse number 5. So at the start, I said there was 7 Trojan horses. Blue ocean retargeting and anything a targeting we've grouped into one. So that Trojan horse is known as what's called blue ocean targeting. If you get confused, so it's actually it's going to be 6, not 7. So this one is about organic takedowns. Now this is a very high level but very strategy. If you can execute this correctly. Some people go into this cocky and they think it's going to be super easy, and it's simple, but it's not easy. Okay, what we're going to do here is essentially we're going to leverage the power of organic with our pixel to create a shit ton of leads. All right, so this is how it works. Let's say for an example, well, I'm actually going to paste a slideshow and I'm going to show you exactly how this works, and this will give you a lot more detail. But essentially, if you look at like a Google search, right? So let's say for an example, we have a Google search here, and it is, let's say I'm looking for a plumber. So I'm looking at plumber, you know, let's say I'm looking at plumbers in Canberra, right? So let's go here. I'm going to go, right, so that's a keyword, okay? And if I go into my search results, Canberra plumbers, I can see here. So I got all these people here, local plumbers, you know, probably a fair few people look up this search term, right? And it's probably quite competitive. Now, what I can do is I can add what is called modifiers. And a modifier is just, you know, like I'll show you an example of a modifier. Let's say Canberra plumbers, right? That is a modifier, okay? Best is a modifier. So now if I type in best Canberra plumbers and I get more specific, there's going to be less people competing for that term, or it actually might be more expensive, right? But it's more specific, okay? Now, if I go best Canberra plumbers, rated in 2021 for customer service, right? That is a very big modifier that I'm adding here, right? So best Canberra plumbers rated 2021 for customer service. That's a huge term. So let's say I go here and I go here and drop that in, and there's a lot less. Now, here's the deal. Canberra plumbers, maybe, you know, let's say I live in a town of like 300,000 people. So let's say 1,000 searches for that per month. Best Canberra plumbers, let's say, has 800 searches a month. Let's say best Canberra plumbers rated in 2021 for customer service might have only 10 searches a month, okay? This is what we call a high intent long tail keyword. Now, what's crazy about this is this has the best customer, right? If I want to find somebody, would I rather somebody that's just looking at best Canberra plumbers, or would I want somebody looking at best Canberra plumbers rated 2021 for customer service? Because that person is looking for something so specific. So this is called long tail keyword. And what's crazy is Google, because you got to think about how many people are searching for stuff on Google, right? There is about 100 million, right? Just like these, so 100 million long tail terms dropped every single day, people don't know about, okay? So if you look at things like Google Analytics, you look at Ahrefs, you look at any kind of tool under the sun for SEO, these terms are dropping so fast that no platform can actually find them because these keywords are just dropping. And it could be, you know, like best Canberra plumbers rated in 2021 for customer service, and there's only 10 people looking at it, but there's millions and millions and millions of these high intent keywords that no one is utilizing because no one knows how, right? Because the tracking platforms, the analytic platforms can't keep up. The only way to rank for this 100 million plus keywords that drop every day is to create just insane amounts of content, okay? So you just accidentally stumble across things, right? So how people would do this, used to do this, they would just create heaps of blog articles and just hope for the best. Whereas now we live in this time where there's such a thing as AI and what's called GPT, right? If you guys don't know GPT-3, you probably know Jasper, also known as Jarvis, this company here, where you're able to use AI to write copy. So what you can do now is you can come up with a list of like 10 seed terms, right? So let's say, for an example, I have, you know, best plumber near me, best plumber review, where to find the best plumber. I have 10 seed terms, right? What will happen is you take these 10 seed terms, you can plug it into a certain system we'll show you. It's called Menterprise, okay? And you plug that in, and what it will do is it will turn these 10 seed terms into, let's say, 100,000, okay? Because, you know, if you add let's say, 1,000 modifiers, and then you times that. Oh, no, let's say, it would take a certain amount of modifiers. If you add a certain amount of modifiers to these 10 keywords here, you'll create 100,000 highly targeted keywords, right? Different variations of this, of best camera plumbers and camera plumbers rated and all this stuff, okay? So you've got 100,000 keywords now that are all high intent with low traffic, but extremely high intent. So you take 10 keywords, you take a keyword that has 10 searches a month, times that by 100,000, now we're cooking with gas, right? So what you do is you take that and you use an AI page builder to build 100,000 pages. So you build 100,000 pages, okay? So each of these pages ranking for these different high intent keywords. Now, about 70%, let's say 60% of this will be indexed, right? So what that means is it's indexed, it's able to be searchable, and it's going to start getting a lot of traffic. So let's say, for an example, 60% is index. Let's say just we've got 60,000 hits now coming in every single month on your network. All right, that's crazy. Now, the thing about this is a lot of people don't realize that a lot of this initially is going to be bots in the beginning. Okay. The big thing about this strategy is you have to unlearn a lot of stuff. Okay. You got to unlearn a lot of stuff you know about SEO, and we'll show you how to do that. But what happens here is out of this 60,000 hits, assuming that you go through and refine, you get rid of the bots, you basically what you're going to do is you're going to find a certain clump of keywords and keep building until you find out this is real. You're going to put our pixel on, okay? So you're going to put on the ads lab, and now that's 60,000 people. Let's say you resolve, 30%. So we've got 18,000 leads. That is 18,000 leads every single month based on using, okay? So that is a insane takeover strategy. It's called the organic takedown because it is literally that. This is not for the faint of heart. If you've never done SEO before in your life, maybe don't try it just yet, okay? And if you have done SEO your whole entire life and you know everything about SEO, be prepared to unlearn about 90% of what you know, okay? Because the guys that I'll introduce you to do this do not mess around. They know what they're doing, but they're going to get you to unlearn a lot of stuff, okay? So that is the organic takedowns. I'll actually put a video under that explaining this in more detail, and feel free to use this as a pitch deck to your client. Okay, last but not least is TVD, right? This is what we call test, validate, and dominate. All right. So this is how it goes, is you've got all these agencies flinging around, setting appointments, taking appointments, and just doing little to no fulfillment or building their craft, or they're just white labeling a ton of shit. And, there's these business owners that are just searching, just aching for somebody that can actually deliver. Okay. In order to deliver though, there is a systematic way to go from A to Z, and you're going to combine all these Trojan horses to do so. So this is the linear progression of going in and finding a big ass company, proving yourself with the pixel, and not just becoming somebody that provides them leads, but becoming somebody that takes over their whole business, right? And I'll show you how to do this. So again, this is harder than the rest. Don't just go into this being like, oh, I'm going to take over this whole company using all the Trojan horses if you don't know how to do it. Okay. You got to have some kind of skin in the game to do this. So let's say Jeremy runs a solar company with 50 locations. He needs a minimum of 1,000 leads per week, right? And he's currently paying $50 per lead on Facebook with a 10%. It might be less. Solar leads can vary. Maybe it was like $40 a lead or whatever. Okay. So you'll go to Jeremy, and we'll show you how to find people like Jeremy. There's lots of people out there that require a lot of leads, and you give him a deal he can't refuse. You give him the identity resolution pixel, and you show him all the leads that he's missing out on. Okay, Trojan Horse 1, easy. Then you unload Trojan Horse 2, and you convert, let's say 25% of these visitors back into leads. It seems you 2 to 3x his output. He's like, oh my gosh, I've never met an agency like you in my entire life. You haven't even run a single ad, okay? Then what you do is you take all the new data and all the stuff that you've gotten from the identity resolution, and you plug that back into the ad platforms like Facebook. Oh my gosh, now his costs are dropping. Now he's paying like $30 a lead. What? This is crazy. What are you doing? Right? Now, in just 30 days, you have delivered in a way Jeremy has never seen before. Okay. Now you're going to hit him with the TVD deal. Okay. Because what you're going to be doing is now you've got an ad account that's got all this amazing data that you've resolved from his website. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to be like, all right, Jeremy. So look, I've proven myself. I've given you my pixel, and I've shown you how I do all this crazy shit. But what I want to do now is I'm just going to charge you per lead I bring you, and I'm going to handle all the assets and everything myself. So what you're then going to do is you're going to build your own brand. All right. Now it's not hard. I built dozens of brands doing this in the past. One of them was like a health insurance company. The other one was one of my favorites, which was a mortgage company called Self-Employed Homeowner, now shut down. Generated. It was for every $60 I spent, I got a deal for like $60K commission. Like that's commission. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to go out and you want to build your own brand. Go out, find a domain, build a website, boom, there's your brand. Okay. You're going to run ads from your own brand and you're going to take all the data and put it into your own ad account. Okay. And now you're going to charge per lead. All right. So let's say you're like, all right, Jeremy, so I'm just going to charge you $30 per lead. You're paying $50 before. Now you only pay $30. Or let's say, so you do that and now you own this asset. You own the solar asset, right? So you can find other people like Jeremy, or you can, get an exclusivity deal with Jeremy where it's like, okay, I'll bring you 3,000 leads every single week at $30, right? Because he's making bank off that. He's going to spend that. While you're doing that, you go out and you build an organic network in the background, which is going to bring down your ad costs because now you're generating more and more and more leads. It's not going to happen overnight, but slowly it's going to bring down your ad costs. Now you have an entire asset, right? You are generating 6 figures per month using all the Trojan horses put together, okay? And that is an organic takedown mix between the pixel. That is the test and validate and dominate, okay? So you find a client that has a lot of traffic and you test using the tools. You validate the offers that work and then you dominate using your own assets and then you move to a pay per lead model, okay? So how you do this is you find businesses that have potential to scale to at least $100,000 per month on a performance basis. You reach out, you start with Trojan Horse 1, you build trust, you unload Trojan Horse 2, then you get into building an organic network, and then you take over and build your own asset. This is simple, but it's not easy. All right. If you're watching this and you're like, oh man, like I've never run an ad in my entire life, I'm going to go and take over someone's business and be a millionaire. Good luck. Maybe that's what you hear from a lot of the gurus and no, this does take skin in the game. Okay. So that is the Trojan horses, guys. That is absolutely everything that you need to be able to take these models and just absolutely kick ass. Okay. If you're an agency right now and you're finding it's hard to get leads, literally tack on Trojan Horse 1 and 2, watch the leads fly in with your emails. All right. So that is the Trojan Horse model. That is how you're going to sell this and make a lot of money. This is what I'm doing in my own agency, right? Because, I didn't just pull these out of my ass. I had to actually apply these first. And yeah, go out and just crush it. Okay. If you haven't done this before, start with Trojan Horse 1. If you're insanely confident, go into 7 or 6 rather, because we've combined the Blue Ocean retargeting and anything to do with targeting as one, and just dominate. Sweet. Appreciate you guys. Can't wait to drop my next video.